Agreed.
Good. Well,
I feel like we're letting stuff out today, and so I would like to have a few minutes of your time for a rant. And I'm going to start this rant off. You may or may not agree, but do you have a dishwasher to start with? I know you've got Anne, but you shouldn't really say that. But
you're going to get us told off for mansplaining again.
yeah, as in she tells you to do it.
Yeah, that's better.
As in, you know a dishwasher, don't you? Like,
I'm familiar.
I've got a real problem with cutlery being up the wrong way in the dishwasher. As in, like, utensils rather. So having knives and forks, they should be down in the rack.
To get the splash from the bottom. Yep, okay.
No, just safety. Just safety. What if you fell on all those knives and forks sticking up?
5 people a year, apparently.
Yeah, whereas if they're face down and you fall on them, they're all like, not so blunt, but handles,
not a serrated knife.
Have you had a moment where you've been bothered by that?
Not by that, but by something of that nature, where I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal, but the cumulative thing of seeing it again, for us, it's called the cheese in the cheese toasty machine. So my thing is if you're going to make a cheese toasty, you then must remove your excess oozing cheese.
You wipe it up, yeah.
And when people don't...
While it's still warm.
While it's still warm and it's a quick, easy job and it takes 1 second, rather than leaving it for the next person where it's then a real pain in the ass. So I completely see where you're coming from. Carry on.
Like, there's levels of this dishwasher utensils. Like, I like to park whatever it would be, like little spoons, forks in the same one, knives. If they're mixed up, it's not a biggie, but definitely not face. No, my actual rant, actually, I just thought I'd bring that out. My actual rant, and this is a rant that I've had forever, and it really, really bothered me the week before last, is litter. I walked from our dojo, if you want to hit the bell. Well, no, it's not even martial arts related, is it? I walked from our dojo to town, which is a good half an hour walk. And if I carried, like, I always pick up litter. So if I see a bit of litter, I always pick it up, unless it's just not going to be practical to do so. You know, if we're talking a bit of rubbish that you're going to have to walk around forever. I always pick it up, drop it in the nearest bin. And this litter I saw was mainly around like a bus stop or somewhere where there is a bin as well. And if I carried a trash bag, like a full-size bin liner with me, I would have filled it up 5 times on this walk. And it's, you know, it's just unnecessary litter. We're all probably guilty of littering at some point. I can remember as a kid doing it, looking back. We're all probably guilty of unintentionally pulling something out of your pocket and a bit of paper falls out or something like that. But I'm talking, it was just discard after discard. And I just find it so disrespectful. I know there is like littering fines and that kind of thing, but there should be more done about. I just had to rant about this a bit because I think it's so disrespectful to the person that's doing it. Ultimately, you're disrespecting yourself, your environment, other people. It's something that always bothered my mum, and I've seemed to have inherited it. And this particular walk into town, it was just disgusting to see.
It's a fair thing. I live in southeast London, so I'm almost numb to it because it's prevalent here. It's everywhere. You can't go anywhere without seeing a lot of litter. And it was only highlighted to me when Anne moved over. My wife moved over from Germany, and she's from a very small town, and she noticed how bad it was and how much there was. And she kept pointing it out. And I was like, God, yeah, you're right. You know, it's really bad. I completely get it. And it's just, there seems to have been a real lack, I assume, of education, because it just doesn't seem to be built into the culture for people, for a lot of people to just put away your rubbish, because it's not hard. It doesn't require any effort. It's not difficult.
And we have the infrastructure for it as well.
We do.
Yeah, I've been to other parts in the world where there's literally rubbish accumulating on the side of the roads because they don't have dustmen, because they don't have a system for waste. But we do. And like that takes on to the next thing, which is just waste itself, where it's we've got a big tip where we are in Crawley, where you chuck it all over, and I don't like going to the tip for the reason of seeing the waste. But when you do, like the mountain of cardboard, let alone like scrap metal, kind of, I get my head around a bit more because you can melt it all down and it can come back as something else. But then you go to just the general house waste. It's colossal. It's colossal, the waste out there. And you spoke on a previous podcast about minimalism, but this is a little bit different, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of being a bit more. We're really trying to minimize plastic, single-use plastic in our house. So things like we've got metal straws and we use metal drinking bottles and stuff like that. And we really try to actively minimize our impact, even though it's tiny. And I don't know why it's not more of a thing, but that's been a very personal decision for us. That's not come from my schooling or from, adverts on TV or anything like that. It's been, so I think that's what's lacking. I don't know if we get enough as a society kind of promotion and information about doing stuff like that to encourage more people to do it.
Like, I'm first of all approaching the whole litter thing from a personal perspective. I just don't like seeing untidy things. I'm not talking about just an untidy desk or an untidy bed. I'm talking about rubbish that shouldn't be there. I'm not. Yeah, I suppose I am OCD about it, but I just find it really disrespectful. Maybe I'm a little bit too on that. But then the waste side of it. Is it something that's getting better or getting worse, or is it something that actually needs addressing? Where are we with it?
It's a big problem. It's a massive problem. So like single-use plastic in particular, especially the non-biodegradable stuff, this basically means that it's been man-made and it's not going anywhere. So there's no way of recycling it and reusing it, and it will not in like, we're talking hundreds of thousands of years, it will not decompose. So
it's going somewhere. It goes into the bloody sea, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's what's happening. Is it's just being dumped, and now it is pouring over into the sea, and it's killing fish, and dolphins are coming up dead, and if they cut them open, and they're just full of plastic. It's just a huge problem, huge, and it's not being addressed anywhere near as seriously as it needs to be. It should be almost illegal for people to even produce any more of this stuff. Yet it's constantly produced and it's constantly purchased and used. And that's just one thing. I'm sure there's tons of other materials and things that are happening. That's just.
I think I've noticed the last few weeks, which is a common waste on the floor now, is a mask. That's now a common waste.
Huge problem.
I know we're in this pandemic and everything, but it's almost like, we all, no plastic bags and all of that. All of our shopping now arrives in a plastic bag. And it's like, I'm taking the shopping out of the plastic bags and saying, I don't want them. And we're trying to give them plastic bags back and they're saying, we can't take it. And it's like, there's a bigger problem, kind of. We don't worry about all that right now.
In Sainsbury's, because people are still to this day hoarding food and over purchasing, eggs are now going back to being packed in plastic because they can't produce the cardboard cartons fast enough. So in Sainsbury's, they've now reverted backwards to packaging them in plastic. So now we consciously won't buy them, and we'll buy like an organic egg. It costs more, but it's just for the principle of not buying this stuff. Yeah, because it just seems to be their go-to answer for anything when things go wrong. It's cheap, easy to make, and they don't really seem to care about the damage it does, and it's massive. It's a real issue.